grab the schedule.
All right, well, Holly will call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item of business is approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting, March 10th. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting for March 10th.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to approve the meeting minutes from March 10th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business are the monthly transactions. Approval of general fund vouchers 82-197 through 82-264 and wire transfers 2025-0312 through 2025-0360. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the monthly transactions for general funds and wire transfers as read.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the general fund vouchers. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the public comment section, of which we have no one, unless someone has changed their mind, to speak. So we'll move on to the next item of business, which would be the spotlight on education, and I see the FCCLA is before us.
All right, so we just thought it would be kind of nice to do a little recap of our year and give you a heads up on what some of the neat things that we have done in our chapter since the beginning of the school year. We like to just make sure that you know what we're doing, and hopefully you've seen some of the things that we've done. And we just got back from our state leadership conference, so we're really into sharing and promoting FCCLA. So Lily, you can start us off with back at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, so actually it would have been at the end of the previous school year, because as all things are, planning takes a very long time. So at the end of last year, I came up with the idea for a drive over homecoming. At the time, I wasn't sure what we would collect, but we ended up collecting clothing items that we donated to, some items to the elementary school and some items to Milltown Referral Agency. And this, of course, was with a lot of help from the FCCLA officer team, Mrs. Hunter, Mr. Crawford was a standout for help there as well. Oh, and Mr. Malberg. So, I guess. Overall, we collected and donated 220 items. 221, actually, if we're going to be really specific.
And then she was able to utilize the homecoming drive towards a star event for the competition.
Yeah, that I got to present that at state, so that was really exciting as well.
Shelby.
All right, our next event that we did was Kindness and Chalk. This is something we do every year, and people love it. We had it on Tuesday, October 15th, and then we had inspiring messages such as like be kind or choose positivity. We had messages like that in the front and the back of the school, and it's just a really cool experience for our members to be able to spread like kindness and positivity in such a simple way. And it also brightened up our school, literally, because it was all over the floor, and so we enjoyed that, and we hope you guys got to see that too. Yeah, I like that one.
Okay. FLC we went to in October. It's a fall leadership conference. We got there. It was at Stout. The whole day was filled out with breakout rooms, talks. We had an amazing lunch, and we just got really connect with more like FCCLA people and talk to the officer team and reach out to everything.
So Anna is our 7th grade representative. She's brand new this year to the club. And so she has dove right into FCCLA, and that fall leadership conference was kind of the tipping point and the starting point for her to really experience what it is.
So over Christmas, we signed up through Nielsen's to do bell ringing for the Salvation Army. We signed up for a total of 4 days. I believe it was a Tuesday and Thursday, and then it was 2 different weeks. We had lots of different members, all different ages, who got to sign up and really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, we had the Lions Club reach out to one of our club members asking if we'd be willing to help with their recycling. They get a bunch of plastic that stuff gets wrapped in and just recycling and bags, And so they said, hey, could you come help us sort it? So about every other month at 7 o'clock in the morning at the food pantry, some fellow members and NHS members and STS members go, and we help cut off the tags, check the plastic, make sure it's clean, and then we're able to donate it towards benches. And we actually already have one out in the community. I don't remember the exact spot, and then we're working towards another bench. And so we've already got a couple, I think at least 100 pounds that we've sorted with the students.
And we have our last day is this Wednesday. Is our last day for this year.
All right, so blanket making. So I also did a STAR event where I reached out through the newspaper and our Facebook, our FCCLA Facebook, to the community asking for fleece donations to make tie blankets for children in the hospitals. And so the members got together, and also the 6th grade student council, like during recess days, and we made a bunch of blankets. We made, I think, in a total of like 27 blankets so far, and so we have enough to make 30. So we're gonna donate those during Easter in like St. Paul, like at the hospitals, and so that was a really fun project. And then I got to present that as my STAR event too.
Speaking of STAR events, you want to talk about regions?
Yes, so regionals was kind of like FLC. It was hosted at Stout, and so this was when we got to compete in our STAR event. So usually, like, you have a set time to like go in your STAR event, you talk about it, and like you get judged on like portfolio or display. And it was a really fun time. You know, it's kind of like a little nerve-wracking to like go and speak in front of people, but overall FCCLA has been great for like public speaking and like growing in leadership. So.
As you can tell. So, Anna, what's another perk of FCCLA?
Ambassador. This year, all 4 of us and Kylie Marley were able to be ambassador for FCCLA. You have to fill out an application, get accepted, and then you have meetings each month on Zoom. We helped at regionals, we helped at state, and it's more like so we can help and like talk to more people and put more like weight on us as basically students instead of putting all these stuff on the adults.
One of the big things that we celebrate is FCCLA Week, which is in February. And so these girls did a great job preparing for FCCLA Week and getting not only the chapter members involved, but also the school involved in some of the fun things to celebrate FCCLA. So do you want to share some of the things that we did for the week?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the week, on Monday, we call it kind of Member Monday, we put locker tags on all the members' lockers just to show like this is the club that they're in, you know, a little FCCLA pride.
Mm-hmm. And then on Tuesday, we introduced Trivia Tuesday. So we did a school-wide trivia question, and we had a bunch of responses. It was about Dolly Parton being in FCCLA, which is a fun fact I think that people didn't know.
Throughout the week, we had our crush can sale, and we had $1 each crush can. We sold many. It was really fun to just like see people get happy by what color there was or like how many crush cans they bought. And then in the morning, we brought in like a little fun like staff appreciation. So we brought in like a Keurig and coffee and cookies and donuts just to like thank all the teachers like for their help, you know, like understanding if like we had to go to SLC and like getting our homework early or something like that and just helping us and supporting us.
And then we also wore red on Wednesday, and we had a whole school invitation for them to wear red. And anybody who chose to wear red, we did a nice group photo, and we had a pretty good turnout for that as well. Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to bread making. So this year, I think a lot of people know there was like a kind of a community-wide, I think it was mostly advertised for elementary students, but it was really, I think, open for everyone. The bread making event hosted kind of led by Mrs. Jillick. We were invited to help out with that, and we got to help out by making bread and then also serving the bread that was donated to the event. And it was really, really cool to just see the community come together and also, you know, to eat some bread because bread is awesome.
So to recap, we just got back from our state leadership conference, which was where they did their STAR event competitions. In order to get to the state level, they had to A, be a FCCLA ambassador, which they were. And then they could also be a voting delegate, which Anna was, and Molly. And then they had to compete at the regional level for a star event, receive an 80 or above in order to advance and go on to state. So if you want to share how you competed and also what you did special,
Yeah.
and then we'll be done.
So, as I mentioned earlier, my homecoming drive was my competition. I got to present on it and just like talk about what that entailed, how it related to FCCLA, various things. And I received a gold at state, so that was really exciting. It was my first year doing competition, so it was a really good experience for me. And I also was given the opportunity to do a red talk. So if you've ever heard of a TED Talk, it's like that, except the color is red, so, Anyway, so essentially you gave like a little TED Talk, but it was on sort of a subject that related to FCCLA. So FCCLA is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. I presented on a subject that kind of related to leadership and character. Kind of just talking about how literature tropes can affect our daily lives, things like that. I won't give you the whole thing because I could, but
It was very good. It was very good.
My SLC experience was like really awesome. It was also my first year competing. I got to compete down at state. It was actually nerve-wracking because it was a lot different than at Stout. At Stout there was like younger people, and it was really like low pressure. But then it was kind of like it was scary at state. But it was a good experience for me to like have that public speaking in front of a judge, like knowing like how I'm going to do under pressure. And then being an ambassador was actually a really rewarding experience. We were up at like 8 to like 5 or something. It was crazy. Like we were just working the entire time, but I mean it was fun. Like we met so many people and we got so many networking. We talked to a lot of college because they have expos and like breakouts and red talks was really fun, and like opening and closing sessions. Just seeing how many people are in the organization and seeing like just meeting the people was really fun.
And what did you get on your star event?
I got a silver.
I also competed in the Star Event. I planned and organized junior joggers for the cross country program this year, and that was really cool to be able to present that. I got a gold at state on that project, and then I was also an FCCLA ambassador, and I snuck some breakout sessions and red talks and some expo time in there, and it was really cool.
My SLC experience was really good. I was an ambassador and a voting delegate. Ambassador was really different than I thought. You had more strict places to be from 8 to 4, and it was more, but we had a lot of fun time in the hotel room and the arcade, and
So we will wrap up our year next month. We will have our end of the year banquet. We will have our new officers roll in, and the old ones we will say goodbye to, and maybe good luck. And then we will celebrate with food and fun. So thank you for getting caught up with us.
Thanks for coming in, ladies.
I saw Marcy trying to get a picture of you guys. You may want to.
I took one from up here, Marcy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I took one from here.
Great job. Thanks.
Yeah, nice job, ladies. Thank you for coming. Yeah, thanks for coming in, you guys. All right, well, you guys, if you want to sneak out, you're welcome to. If not, you can stay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to our next item of business, which is approval of resignations/retirements. Okay, so we've got 4 of those. It seems like it's been forever since we had our last meeting. I guess the way the calendar fell, it kind of has. So it was March 10th. So the first couple, we have resignations from our 2 elementary teachers, Rachel Tureen, a 5th grade teacher, and Kaylee Martin, a 6th grade teacher, and they had done so back before spring break. So those positions actually we posted a few weeks ago, so we're working on those. And then Mrs. Kaler announced to the staff today, and she had let us know she is retiring. So junior senior high counselor. So Mrs. Kaler's retiring. That just came out here. And then we have Brent Paulson is resigning as head football coach. All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resignations and retirements.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve our retirements. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Hey.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of our hires. Okay, so again, this goes back quite a while. This was in the first 2 weeks of March that the interviewing and hiring was going on, and people signed contracts, but we had to wait till now until things were more official. So we had interviewed for our Title I and Reading Specialist position, which was created by retirement, and I'm pleased to report Courtney Luke would be the person who has accepted that position. And then elementary special ed teacher Paula Johnson has agreed to fill that position. And junior senior high math teacher, we have Nathan Cunningham has agreed to fill that position. And so those are the three. And then again, we are in the process of, we've got posted some of the elementary positions that have been created through the previous resignations or retirements that we've talked about. So, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the hires.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the hires. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the student Chromebook purchase. Okay, so just to kind of preface this whole thing, so we are still working out the details on this. So we have gone back to, this goes back to December. Mr. Bo Osmanrud, we knew we needed to replace a couple of grades of Chromebooks, so this has been planned. And we decided we wanted to do the juniors and seniors next year, so that's why it's a bigger number, because those are our two large classes. But they put the most demands on theirs, and theirs are older. So this is more of I'm giving you kind of the background and I guess I'm seeking your approval, saying won't cost more than kind of thing, but we are still winnowing down the details of, a couple of different models that CDW is working with us to try to get the best, get the best value that we can get. Bo came to me in the fall, and then he got permission to order in like 4 different models that we purchased and brought in so that he could actually take them apart and see, which ones, because we like to buy models that have replacement parts that are easy to replace, so that if a Chromebook goes down, you don't have to buy a whole new, device. You can just replace different parts. So, and then of course look down for how they functioned and that kind of thing. Had students try them out, had some staff try them out. And kind of, narrowed it down to kind of a preferred model. There was a more expensive model. There was a very nice model, but it was quite a bit more expensive. And then, but there was one that he felt and we felt was really good. Looked at different vendors. CDW is who we buy a lot of our stuff through. And anyway, through the process of that, they were talking about, different discounts or trying to get the best price possible for us. And in that process too, there's another model that's just a little bit, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, it's got better features. And as of Friday, they hadn't gotten fully back to him yet. As you can imagine, things are a little bit wonky right now with pricing technology, with everything going on with kind of the roller coaster of tariffs, no tariffs, whatever. Anyway, they're seeing if they can get this second model that has more RAM and more memory down to within like $15 of the other one, it might make sense to purchase the higher end one if we can get a close price. So with 110 devices and the prices that we have, and then each device would have $30 or $32 for the licensing fee. So you can see that we'd be looking at somewhere in the low 30s. For the one model, $32,890, and the second model, $35,997, so a little bit more. So that's a little bit more than we initially had projected, because we decided to go with the juniors and seniors, so it's a little bit higher numbers so what we would do is we'd buy them from the juniors and seniors. When a class graduates, the 12th grade devices would then cycle down to the 7th graders, and then they would work their way up and then get replaced somewhere probably around their sophomore junior year. The cool thing I think that we can do here, and Mrs. Myers here, so this relates to common school funds. So each year we get funds that are allocated directly from the state for public libraries and school libraries, and it comes from a special fund that has to do with
land that is owned around the state, by the state, and they generate revenue from that, and so that's where Common School Fund money comes from. And so other districts do this, and we can actually purchase them for the library, and then the library is able to check them out to the students, in the fall and check them back in the spring. So it's kind of a unique way that we could, and it's appropriate. We've checked with that. It's an appropriate use of the funds, but it would be a nice way to purchase them outside of our normal Fund 10 and our I shouldn't say it is part of our Fund 10, but outside of our normal our local tax assessments, things like that. So again, we're trying to narrow down the details, hopefully in the next week or two, and get finalized, the best number that we can get. Our fallback would be to do the cheaper one that's listed there, if the other one doesn't come down anymore. So
Probably want to get it done pretty quick with those tariffs.
we do. Yeah, we do. And Bo's been checking really since winter. They have thousands of them in stock, so we're in a good place as far as getting them the quick turnaround. But yes, that is exactly, we don't want to wait too long here. So I guess that's why we'd like to get approval now, so we can hopefully order them in the next couple weeks, and then we get them on hand too, and then we can start cataloging them in the library and stuff here yet this year while we still got staff here. So any other questions about that?
Then I'll entertain a motion.
So are you just looking for, you can purchase up to
Yes.
X amount?
Yeah, so I guess the
Point is
The pro-
33,000?
yeah, I guess I would say, well, and I would
Maybe 35?
maybe say the higher number, but
Okay.
I'm telling you right here, we don't intend to pay that amount. It'll be something less than that, but if you can, if we say that, say no higher than, or something like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
and that would not be our intent to go about that, so if we would, maybe a motion with the number of 36 in there, or something like that.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the student Chromebook purchase up to 35,000.
Can you actually say 36, because it's a little bit above 35, yeah.
Up to 36,000.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the student Chromebook purchase up to $36,000. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Next item of business is the approval of 66.0301 Shared Nursing Services Agreement.
Okay, so this is just our renewal of our nursing contract. We've been in it for 2 years. It's worked out quite well. So we share our nursing services. Kaylee Mateski is our school nurse that we share with Turtle Lake and Clayton, and we actually purchase the fewest amount of the days because we did have quite a few things in place already. You might remember us talking about this last year. So there's I think it was a 3% increase in her wage and a small increase in the amount of professional development money that each district we agreed to split it 3 ways evenly, because even though we buy a smaller number of days, we all benefit. When she does professional development training, we still benefit from it equally. So $600 of professional development per year would be our portion. You can see both copies of the contract there, so I would ask to please renew that.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 2025-26 nursing contract.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the 2025-26 nursing Shared Nursing Services Agreement contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the 2025 summer school contracts for teachers and support staff.
Yeah, so we just would like to seek your approval to be able to let Eve go ahead and start creating the contracts and release the contracts. There's an attachment there you can see. We've got a nice, again, a really nice response, a nice roster of teachers and paras who are willing to come in the summer, and included in there is some of the junior senior high staff that do some of the remedial and attendance work over here. So 3 weeks in June.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 summer school contracts for teachers and support staff.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the summer school contracts. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is consideration/approval of scoreboard replacement project.
Okay, so this is not something that we've talked about at a prior meeting. But it is something that has kind of been in the background discussed for going back to last year. And Mr. Melberg, feel free to chime in if I'm missing any details here as I give the overview. But so Daktronics, they're the current type of scoreboard that we have right now in our facilities. Our scoreboards are aging. Mr. Tom Osmondrud has talked about, and Dale Rosine, our AD, it's getting a little harder to find replacement parts as they start to go down. So the scoreboards in the elementary gym, 1991, those were installed when the gym was built. And then the ones here at the high school are 1997 when this building opened. The ones at the football field are not as old, 20 years. 2005 is when that opened, so 20 years. So Daktronics has a unique program where they just kind of giving an overview before we get into the proposal. They come in, look at your needs, put together a proposal of different products that they could supply, and there's different options for types of scoreboards. And then what they do is they assist us in putting together a package where we can go reach out to our community and sell ads that would be attached to our scoreboards or displayed in our athletic facilities. And then the sale of those advertising pieces finances the full cost of the scoreboards. So as we go through the proposal, a couple things to point out is that, number one, it's a bigger number than it's going to ultimately be because there are things too that we're cutting off of there. And again, we're still working with Daktronics kind of on the details and working that out. And they've been fantastic to work with, I will say that. But I wanted to bring it to this meeting to get your approval to kind of pursue it. So that we didn't have to wait if we wait till May, I fear we're really going to get tight. We're going to be tight as it is already on the timeline to possibly get them so they're ready to install for fall sports. Could still be a possibility. But anyway, so they put together some marketing materials or as some of them that you have attached there. And then, we can invite people in, hold meetings, public meetings for businesses, vendors in town to come in and hear a proposal about possibly purchasing an advertising package. And we'd sell it as a multi-year package, different levels, and then once we have the sales secured, then we would move forward with the order. So we wouldn't make the order on the scoreboards until we have the financing set and secured, the sales set. So I guess going back to what kind of 2 points is there's some things in here that are going to get details that'll get figured out, and there's a few things we're reducing and removing. And the other thing is that it's not going to cost district funds. It's not going to cost taxpayer funds to do that. So that's an important point to drive home. Where do you want me to start? I guess.
Well, I guess in looking through this, what are you taking out?
So a couple of basic things in I guess it'd be the third attachment. 2 items. One is, I guess if you look at the first or second attachment. So when you see the picture of what would be the high school gymnasium, and it says Business A. Moyer Gymnasium, what we would do is remove, you see some of the what's the trusses, I guess, the little X marks on there. We would remove that truss stuff both at the bottom and at the top, and just that would eliminate some cost and just shrink down that top. And again, these are the details we're still working out, whether we would along the top of the board put advertising up there, or if that would just be removed and would just say nothing, or just be blank, and then have all the anchor partners, which would be the ads along the bottom. They would like to, what they try to do is offer one of the, what's the word, what do they call it, super anchor or something like that, which would be someone that would pay a bigger premium to maybe be at the top of the scoreboard or have a little bit bigger ad. So that would reduce some. The other one is there is in their original proposal a big, and maybe they took it out of the renderings here, but they had priced in there a big 40-foot long by, was it 4 feet or 10 feet high that would be on the back of the bleachers. And we said we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to cover up the signage that's already there. And the cost of that was it's like $10,000 or $11,000 for the piece, and then it just raises the cost of the project. So that would eliminate. So figure taking off about $10,000 or $11,000 off the total. And I think that's the big one. There will also be, though, about a $10,000 cost for installation. So Daktronics doesn't install, but they have a partner they work with, and they actually have worked here before on some of our installs from our baseball, softball fields. So we're familiar with them. They do most of the installs in the area. But so there's about about a $10,000 cost for installation. So it's kind of a wash either way. So you take out the one cost, but add it back in. There's a small discount reflected in this pricing. We are part of the TIPS, the Interlocal Purchasing System. If you guys remember back when we did the track a couple of years ago, we joined TIPS, and that's something that they get their pricing verified, and they're part. So Daktronics is a TIPS vendor, so we get a little discount for that too. I can't remember if it was 3% or 5%. Once the boards are paid for, and it looks like we would finance them over probably 5 years, then we're free to continue to sell that advertising beyond that to generate revenue for our athletic department or whatever we would want to see fit. So,
How much more would scoreboards cost if they made it so we won all the time?
I don't know if we put a price on that. I think you just have to pay the scoreboard operator.
Well, it sounds like a no-brainer.
I mean,
Yeah.
and one of the things that we looked at was the giant video boards, and we did not opt to go that route. They're huge. It kind of look oversized in our gym, and it brings an element of extra stuff you got to do to maintain it. If you're gonna have a video board up there, you got to have content, and if you're gonna have content, it's required. So we weighed it all out, but I think ultimately it was not. We don't feel like that's the best way to go, and it adds quite a bit of cost.
If they come up with software when we're videotaping these games that whenever time stops in the game and it goes back 30 seconds and does a replay, then let's do it.
Yeah.
Then we can see what.
Yeah. This one does have an upgrade of, it has the, on the sides, in the high school gymnasium one, it has the players and the fouls and the points on it, which is a nice little upgrade too. But most importantly, it's just upgraded equipment, newer.
My biggest worry is we've talked about coming up with a mascot logo. That would probably need to be done in the same amount of time, and to make sure we.
I don't think that, I don't know if that's realistic to have a mascot. If that question was asked, I think though, it's vinyl. If in the future we wanted to put something different up there, besides the CL that's on there, you can.
It's just a vinyl overlay.
I believe, unless I'm mixing it up with something else, unless it's just the signage is a vinyl overlay.
I imagine to change the mascot, that'd probably be a total stakeholder.
Yeah, that.
Type of a thing to get everybody to buy into it, huh?
And I know that that's been discussed informally by some of you, and I think that's. I'm definitely, I'd be interested in looking into that, definitely. But it's going to take some time to do that the right way, and make sure that we involve everyone, like you say.
All right, so for this, I will entertain a motion.
Up to. Well, there's no cost to the district.
There is no cost to the district, so.
No, we're just
It
giving.
just says in here,
So
won't cost more than proposal.
yeah. It's roughly, as you can see on the proposal, and for people to know, it's going to be about $76,000 or $79,000. But again, it'd be financed over the 5 years. There's different ways we can go about the financing too. If we want to try to finance it ourselves, we can do that, or if we want to go through one of our local lenders, we can do that too. But yeah, again, no cost to the taxpayers. And just for people listening too, new high school, 2 scoreboards in the high school, 2 scoreboards in the elementary gym, 1 big one full size, and 1 kind of more basic small one on the other side. New football scoreboard. Oh, I forgot to mention too, the football scoreboard can use the current poles that are out there, so it's some cost savings there. It's just the new board, the poles can be used. So, and then the advertising would appear around the high school scoreboard. It would appear above the gym entrances at the high school. It would appear on the concession stand at the football field. And am I missing?
Above the doors in the gym.
Above the doors in the gym, the entrance is there. I think that's
Are we
it.
good on our baseball, softball?
Yeah, those are fairly new. We just installed those, each of them within the last 4 or 5 years, I think.
Wrestling?
Real recent. Wrestling uses the same ones.
Would use
Yeah,
those. Okay.
uses the same ones. So. Yeah.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the scoreboard replacement project. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the scoreboard replacement project. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next item of business is the approval of Elevate K-12 for Spanish language instruction for 25-26.
Okay, and Mr. Milberg can chime in if you want to, but we posted our Spanish position again this year. For us, it's a part-time position. We got 0 applicants again. Elevate K-12 has been a very positive experience. It's remote learning but live in person, live, not in person, live, interactive with the real person, but just remotely. And the contract for next year would be smaller than the present because we have fewer sections, right,
One
Brian?
less section, yep.
Say that again, or what?
One less section.
One less
from
section.
What we're currently teaching.
Yeah. So what would it be, Mr. Melberg?
So the price for next year, last year was about $40,000. The price for next year would be $24,449.96.
What are the classes it would be?
We'd have a Spanish 1, and then we'd offer our 8th grade exploratory Spanish. And then we offer Spanish 2 through ITV.
There's no way to get Spanish 1 through ITB? Is it a scheduling?
The issue, the biggest issue is most of the students we have taking Spanish 1 is we end up with a room of 20 freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
And ITV is typically 20 kids, or not 20 kids, usually it's a small number
Yeah.
of upperclassmen in a classroom by themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's a concern of mine to do it that way with the size of the group and the age of the group.
Mhm.
So this has a teacher, current
This
teacher?
has a teacher who is online, but they are live in front of our kids.
Right, but do we
and
have
just
a
our
teacher
kids.
there?
And then we have, yes, we have
Yes.
a teacher that is observing the room.
Teacher or para? Yep, we
Para,
have an
yeah.
adult in there. Yep.
What we like about this setup compared to some others is that the teacher is ours. It's just they are teaching our kids in that time, and they're not teaching hundreds of kids across or thousands of kids
Yeah.
at the same time.
And why don't we do it for our second class, our Spanish 2?
Typically, once we get to Spanish 2, it's a smaller number, and they're a little bit older, and we can offer it through ITV, and it's a cheaper option.
Smaller numbers of kids.
Yep.
How much cheaper is it?
So with ITV, because Mr. Crawford teaches his AP US history class through ITV, that offsets our costs, so it does not cost us anything.
But the cost, you guys approved in the CISA 11 shared services contract last month, and I hate to even, it's in the 20s, I believe, at least. It might be more than that. I hate to say a number because I'm going to say it wrong, and I don't want to say it wrong. So.
Because we offer an ITV to everybody else,
We
Mr.
get
Crawford, and then we get in with other classes without having to pay CISA for it.
Without having to pay extra. Yeah.
Correct.
You pay a premium if you don't have, you get a big reduction by having at least one class taught out of your district.
And historically, the last few years, usually once we get to Spanish 2, we're talking about 10 would be a lot. We've been in that 5 or 6 range. Well, with This would elevate, we'd be paying the $15,500 whether we've got 5 kids or 25 kids.
Yep.
And so that's a big cost per kid.
In high school, we had three languages taught by teachers. Through
Spanish
4.
too, every other year or every year?
We can offer it every year because it's through ITV. And it actually works out quite nice because kids can take it any hour of the day. So not only
So it can
we don't
rotate.
end up with 10 in a room at once, we have 1 or 2 in the library at a time.
Which frees up their schedules to fit other necessities
Exactly.
in. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any kids taking 3 and 4 at all? Or
We,
is it usually through?
but not 4, we've had a couple of them take Spanish 3, but it's been a couple of years.
Wow.
Sorry, drove over your questions there.
Any other questions, guys? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Elevate K through 12 instructor contract for 2025, 2026.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the Spanish language instruction. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of occupational and physical therapy services contract for 25-26.
Okay, so this is, we provide occupational physical therapy for a small number of students, 3 to 5 maybe, throughout the district each year, who needs those services provided through their IEP, their individualized education plan, through special education. We've been very pleased for a number of years with St. Croix Regional Medical Center and their service, so we would like to renew with them. And now that I'm opening up the contract, scrolling through, I can't find the dollar amount. There it is. So it's physical therapist or occupational therapist. Direct work is $81 an hour. Occupational therapy assistant is $55 an hour. It's often the assistant who works directly with kids, but some of the assessment work or IEP work has to be done by the licensed person, so it's a little bit more. But again, it's a very small number of kids that access those services.
Would that include, what does that include? Hearing and?
No, that would be under speech, or sorry, under that would actually we get hearing stuff through our CISA 11 contract. So physical therapy and occupational therapy, I put me on the spot the difference between the two, but
One's
if
large
Mrs.
motor
Powers.
skills and OTA is fine motor skills, like
Okay.
hands.
Okay, there you go. If Mrs. Powers was here, she'd be
Yeah.
Walking up steps and walking down
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son was in it. when-
Functional
back in the day, but-
skills, yeah, person, yeah. So.
Okay, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the occupational and physical therapy services contract for 25-26.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the occupational and physical therapy, bless you, services contract for 25-26. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the health insurance renewal for 25-26.
Okay, I do have updated information that came in just today on that. I think it would be wise for the board to table that till into the closed session. I can talk about the different proposals from that came in with the vendors. Our insurance broker did bid it out this year, and so I can kind of share what the results of that was.
Okay, so then we'll table that. We'll move on to review of the April 1, 2025 school board election and canvassing committee results.
Okay. So I've attached all the documents from the canvassing committee and the election results, and there was no drama in this year's election since we had one incumbent running unopposed for the one seat. So Mr. Ellsmore got exactly 1,200 votes, 1,200 votes, right on the dot. And then there was a scattering of 24 other votes throughout the different municipalities. But just for your review there, you can see, so the April 3rd, 2 days later, the canvassing committee met and So that's our clerk, Mr. Munson, and then 2 people who are residents of this district met and just reviewed all the ballots and verified all the stuff that came in.
Who were the 2 individuals?
So it was Eve Mansky over there and Carrie Blanchard. So
Nice.
usually get a few employees who are here and meet
Whoever
right
you
after
can grab.
school. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anyone have any questions? Congratulations, Matthew. Do we do another official oath? I suppose we
So
have to.
yeah, the next item is actually the actual oath, and then Matt would just need to sign it. I mean, we could read it out loud, or someone could read it out loud what it says, and then Matt just needs to sign it tonight, and needs to sign it or make sure he takes the oath and signs it by April 28th, I believe, is the drop dead deadline that it has to be done by.
So we can do it tonight.
Yeah, I've got it here. So. Somebody want to read it, or Greg, you wanna
Who would read it?
I don't know. Yeah, Matt could read it.
All right, man.
I, Matt Elsmore, who has been duly elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Clear Lake, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Right on. All right. So now we'll just have to sign that.
Yeah,
We'll be
so
done.
Matt would sign it, and Corey, the clerk, would sign it. So yeah, Matt's official for 3 more years. So
Welcome to the board.
Welcome back.
thank you for your service.
All right, next item of business then is the discussion of the CISA 11 Joint Board Administration Spring Meeting that we had on April 3rd.
If anyone wants to share their impressions from when we were up at CISA 11, nice.
I wish I could speak like that guy did.
Yeah.
What was his name, Chris?
Joe Sanfilippo, yeah, he's got a gift. He's a great,
Oh, my Lord.
great public speaker. Yeah, and that is him. He is high energy and talks fast and he's great at what he does. He has a gift, and that's actually, that's what he's doing now since he's retired. Is he's on the circuit and he's giving keynotes around the country. So, and you can see why.
I think it was just a great reminder to remember to celebrate the little things, I guess, and just having FCCLA here, just taking photos of those things and sending them along and making sure everybody knows we're doing positive things. I thought it was a great message.
Finding one of my takeaways was going and finding the joy in every day. There's so many things that are tough. It's a very difficult job, whether teaching, secretary, bus driver, administrator, para, it's a challenging situation many times, but to remember look for the good things and the fun things and the light moments and the impact that we're making, and sometimes we don't realize the impact we're making until later on, but just a great reminder of finding the positive, finding the good in every day, and using that to help keep yourself centered and in a good place.
Yeah, and remember that the people that we're working for don't know what happens in the buildings.
Yes.
Even we don't know what happens in the buildings as board members, so, keeping that in mind when we have discussions and stuff.
Yeah. And how can we consistently continue to pump out, like Matt said, all the positive things that are happening so that people understand that, and again, not just think back to 20 years ago or 30 years ago when they had a negative experience in school, that's what it's like now, because it's not. Yeah. It was cool. I think we had the big group up there, so that was pretty neat.
Yeah, we were all there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
The meal was kind of sloppy. They served ribs.
That was your takeaway.
It was good though. It was tasty.
You should have saw how quickly Chris reacted when I said, "Chris, you got some barbecue sauce on your cheek." Oh no, dang it. Okay, let's move on then to the next item of business, which is the selection of the board representative for CISA 11's annual convention on June 2nd. Their annual convention on June 2nd.
Corey, did you go last year?
I did.
When?
Yeah, I think Corey went last year. Can you want to? I've never been to it because it's so it's basically like the CISA 11 has to have an annual meeting, kind of like we have an annual meeting. They're required to have that. They call it an annual convention, but it's the equivalent of what we do every August, which is our annual meeting. So I also will say this. I know there's been years where I don't think we've had a representative go. I don't think it's a requirement, but they
I
invite.
went last year, I enjoyed it.
Well, you did go last year.
I'll go again, if nobody wants to go.
I can go again. It's not.
Is it in the evening or is it 'cause it's a
Evenings.
Monday?
It's in the
Evening.
evening.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah.
do,
You do vote on
they
it.
vote for just a little bit higher
Yeah.
board.
It's the
level
CISA
and-
board.
If there was an opening on it, I would be willing to. It seemed like some people didn't. They wanted to keep it at arm's length, but I think that if the other person that's been serving for a long time doesn't want to do it, I'd be willing to do it for our area. But
So if that's the case, you might need some voters up there then.
And I understand every board
I think we just
selects
send one.
delegate that you send, or one representative, I should say, and then to go there, and then just again, it's sort of like electors at the annual meeting
But
here.
it's like we have
Board members
regions,
from across
that-
CISA 11.
There's yeah.
I've never been to it, like I said.
You get some information out of it. I think it's about an hour and a half.
It was less than that. It was about a half an hour. honestly, but-
I think I've done it twice in the last, my tenure.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
we
willing
land
to go
on
if
Matt
nobody else
going?
wants to.
Matt?
If somebody else wants to for
Okay.
the experience.
You go, Matt.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Corey.
All right.
Okay. So Matt's gonna go. All right.
All right, well, the next item of business is appointment of a board member to hand out diplomas at commencement.
Yeah. So, and we've had years where we've had more than one too, so we can certainly have more than one. But again, often it's someone who's got a connection to the class and would like to be on stage if they're
Nettie!
child or grandchild.
My child has requested it.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine.
That includes a welcome, I think,
Yeah,
too,
go
right?
Nettie!
I don't want to do the welcome though.
Oh, you got
No, I just want to be mom as much as I can. Is that possible?
Yeah, I don't think Mrs. Hughes is gonna thank you.
And the welcome can be brief. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so. But
That's
so
just
if
not-
you don't want to do it, that's if someone else
prefer not
wants
to
to
do
do
that
it.
part.
It doesn't matter.
If anybody else is willing.
Well, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna always volunteer because I want the next 2 years.
Perfect up there. Big lot.
I like that perfect. That was really
You want to
good,
do
Corey.
it for your kids for sure. Does anybody else want to do it this year? So
Yeah, I will skip a year.
I can do it if you want to do it the next, if you
I
want
want-
to save your time for
she
them.
wants to
I
save
can
it for
do
her
a
kids.
welcome.
Yeah, I want the next 2.
Yeah, I can do a welcome.
Okay, Greg will do the welcome, and Eddie will do the diploma
okay,
work. All right.
I can come watch.
she's asked over and over.
That's pretty cool to be able to do. that.
Yes, it is. All right.
All right.
The next item of business is the board policy updates and approvals. First reading.
Okay.
You want me to read through them, Chris, or I suppose I could. It's just first reading, huh?
I mean,
I've
yeah.
read through all of them. Have people read through them, Chris? Do you need to have any big changes?
So the majority of them, I mean, if you want, Greg, yeah, they should be read all. I could go, I mean, as we kind of click through them, I could just say what they are. And many of them are basically technical edits. Like there really weren't very many choices for me to make in them. They're really related mainly to federal funding, guidelines for accounting, and like new language for reflecting new laws and court cases and stuff like that. So
Yeah, if you want to we'll just let you go through.
Okay, and I'll try to whip through them fast. And then we do have two that are unrelated to the federal funding and accounting. But so, okay, 3440 is job-related expenses. This is a new policy. So if it's new, it's included because we have to have it now. So there's some new regulations. So these are related to what's called the Uniform Grant Guidance, UGG or UGG. Which I found myself saying a lot as I read through these,
Yeah.
or the Education Department General Administrative Regulations, EDGAR. So EDGAR and UGG guidelines, people are calling these. My sarcasm in my notes there is that, yeah, it's a cure for insomnia and sanity to sit and read through some of these. Anyway, so the first one, job-related expenses and the choices that were made. The first one, the board may, was a choice that was made. Validity of payments by the district administrator. Established mileage rates in accordance with Federal Internal Revenue Service. The rest of it, I think, was pretty boilerplate set. There weren't really other options to make. So, and this is first
Did we
reading.
just
so-
never have a reimbursement policy?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I was like, this is
Yep.
very standard.
And remember too that this is related specifically to federal projects. Okay. Now it would be easy to take and extrapolate this to all of our processes that we do, but these are specifically required and related to federal projects, which isn't that much always of what we do necessarily. So, next one is 4440. I'm sorry, that's the same. Yeah, that's also job-related expenses, simply for support staff or admin. So it's the same exact language, same stuff.
different
Nothing
people it
different.
pertains
Just
to, yes.
Yep, because 4,000 is different people. Okay, here, 5411. This one is unrelated to UGG and EDGAR. This is the third grade promotion and retention policy that is newly required as part of Act 20. So Act 20 is the new literacy law that was passed last summer, and you've heard about that with different things it requires. So one of the things it required was a third grade promotion policy. So the people who wrote the law are not educators necessarily, and one of the things they had written in there is, you know, if a third grader has a personal reading plan and they don't meet it by the end of third grade, they would be retained. Really kind of goes against any research and education-based understanding of, you know, if you have a student who's a struggling reader, that there's lots of evidence that would suggest that it's not helpful for them to be retained, but instead for them to remain with their grade level peers and receive additional support, which is what we do and what we've always done, and which was what schools do. So the way the law was written in the statutes, you know, there are ways to, you know, circumvent retention, and that's what this policy basically lays out. Is retention is an option, but it has to be considered. You have to have a meeting at the end of the year, but then here are all the things that we can look at to consider, and these are all written within the law to determine with the team, including the parents, is retention the right thing to do for this child. And I will venture out on a limb to say in very few or no cases is it really, do we find that it's appropriate. So if you get scroll down to the bottom of the first page is where some of the choices, in reaching the decision to promote or retain, the district will carefully consider all relevant factors, including but not limited to. And again, in the context of this would be with a team, including the parents of the child. So whether the team met and believe that promotion is in the best interest, all relevant available data has been reviewed. Some of them that were excluded, it doesn't mean that won't be talked about naturally. It just means that it's not a specific box to tick off in the meeting, you know. Whether in which alternatives to retention would help support the student, whether the student is eligible for an exception contained under the policy. So down below there's some exceptions, and then the potential long-term adverse risks of retention. So basically it's saying these are the things that must be discussed at the meeting.
So is part of this new Act 20 where you have to prove reading proficiency upon graduation?
Nope, it's in third grade. third grade reading proficiency. It's a
And then it's
law
done,
that
yes.
applies through pre-K through third grade. Correct me if I say anything wrong, Teresa. Yeah.
So you would hold back till they got to a third grade reading level. So all the farther you have to get them to.
Well,
I
Like I
just
said,
needed to make sure.
the law wasn't written necessarily by educators. Now, there is it is based on research that says that third grade reading ability is a major predictor of graduation
Yeah.
success. So that's what's behind it all. But so we are required to have this new policy. So the rest of the stuff down below really weren't choices. Again, it basically kind of mirrors the language in the statute and the model policy that DPI put out, but I like Neola's better because it's more succinct. So, any questions about that one? And it doesn't go into effect, sorry, the top, 2020, July of 2027. That gives time for schools to prepare to implement this. All right, move on.
Yep.
Okay. All right, back to Edgar and Ugg. 6110. And this was there were no choices to make, so basically I have it labeled technical edits. It's more than that because there's language changes in there, but all that language was put in there by Neola, by their people. So I would highly suggest us avoiding changing the language. And again, when I spoke to our Neola rep, he said it was the language changes are to provide clarity and to provide updated language that reflects the new standards from the federal government. 6111, internal controls. That's a new policy. And again, there were no choices to make in there, but it's a policy that we need to have. Again, it just governs the ways that we do our accounting with federal. And it doesn't represent changes to what we currently do. It's just, we have to have the policy.
Guessing this came out of some mismanagement of ESSER funds.
Maybe, yeah.
They were a little late with their
I mean,
policies.
Yeah.
it came after all.
Yeah. 6112, cash management of grants. Again, that's a new policy. And again, there were no changes or choices that I put in there or had input on. And like I said, I was told any of the new policies are ones that we want to have in place. 6114, cost principles, spending federal funds, and again, I have it labeled as technical edits because you'll see green and red highlights in there for changes, but again, there were no choices or inputs made locally. This is what we received from Neola. It's their recommendations, and some of it's like new dollar amounts that are like, let's say a mandated minimum or maximum amount of money from 20 years ago needs to be updated because numbers are bigger nowadays than the costs of things are bigger. Any questions on that one? I did read through all of them.
Everybody likes lower cost principles, right?
Yeah. All right, the next one is 6325, procurement, federal grants and funds. In this one, I'll highlight, let's see, I had to put it on paper because there's just a couple of, where are they? We had to add in some numbers, and
Page 3.
let's see, I have it highlighted here. Yeah, I think it is
Under small
page
purchases.
3. Thank you, Nettie. Yeah, under number 2, small purchases on the 3rd page. We had to pick an amount not to exceed $250,000. I put in $100,000. I asked Ed, our Neola rep, and he said, the 250 is probably for a much bigger district, so he said 100 is probably a safer bet. And again, we have kind of the standing expectation of anything over $10,000, whether it's federal or not, I'm going to be bringing to you guys to look at. So. Same thing under the next part down, sealed bids. Also, we had to put in a number, and I added the number $100,000 to match it. I think that is all the choices that were required in this policy. Yep. The next policy is 7310, disposition of personal property. And again, I think it was just, one item to add in a number, and it would be in the first page under, I'm looking at the wrong one here. I got 73, I grabbed the wrong one. There we go. Under equipment, yep, and it is, we added in the number $10,000. Per unit cost that equals or exceeds $10,000 to replace, for the two choices that were made. Again, I kind of sought some recommendation there, what other districts are doing our size. The rest of it's all kind of boilerplate stuff written by the lawyers. And 7450, property inventory, same thing for consistency, entered the number in that first green paragraph. Per unit cost that equals or exceeds $10,000 to replace. That was the language that was chosen to put in there. The rest of the document was no input for me. It was, again, recommended by Neola. So that's that. And then the last policy on here is a non-UG or Edgar. It's 8550, competitive food sales. I had declined to adopt this policy in the past, and then I was told that if we get a food service audit, which we do usually every year, every other year, this is one that they're going to flag you on and say you're supposed to have this policy in place. So kind of being proactive. I chose option 2. It treats the elementary and the high school the same, basically saying that any kind of non-food service sales would be 30 minutes after the last lunch period. And it does talk about having the smart food guidelines, smart snack rules. However, under a different policy that we have, each student organization or any organization that does fundraising actually is allowed 2 exemptions to that each year. So, when, for example, the FCCLA
I was
sells
just thinking
stuff,
that too. I'm like, don't they sell
they're
at
not,
lunch?
Yeah, they're not violating.
They sell tickets at lunch.
Tickets.
They get the
Got
pop later.
Yeah, yep, and they get 2 exemptions a year for a non-smart snack. So, because that kind of had me a little like, but.
You don't think Orange Crush is a smart snack?
So, I wasn't going to adopt this one, but I think we kind of need to. So.
We could buy shakes at our lunch when I was a kid.
To the FFA, stand for ice cream, yeah.
Gold Rush
We had a
bars.
shake shack.
2 or 3. Yeah.
We literally
Yeah.
had a shake shack.
Gold Rush
Get lunch
bars.
and go to the ice cream.
Forgot about them. Do they still make them?
I don't know. I haven't seen them. So, any questions about any of those policies?
Nope.
For now, that's the first reading, and again, I think they're pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's the driest bunch that we've ever looked at.
It's up there. It's up
I
there.
just can't imagine doing that for a job.
Yeah.
Someone special.
Yeah. So, okay.
Okay. If there's no more questions, we'll move on to our superintendent notes. Mr. Chris Peterson.
Okay, I'll move quickly here because I know we have our goal tonight. So, just again, I mentioned before, it seems like it was forever ago the last time we met. We had spring break that following week. That seems like a lifetime ago. Just updates on things that have gone on since then. We had a membership audit update. We had our membership audit get completed. That is where we get our district drawn. They come in and they sift through all of our numbers for our student counts. So, and it's summer school and it's open enrollment in and out and all. You get deep in the weeds and it's not a pleasant experience, but it's done. So Tons of stuff going on with fine arts and music and organizations, large group fest. We hosted it here back in March, and solo and ensemble was at Turtle Lake. Had a bunch of kids going to state solo and ensemble in May. Middle school honors band. We had third grade had their national parks get together with parents in the commons at the elementary. Elementary staff, sixth grade basketball bash was a big success. Nobody got hurt
Rigged.
by that. Yeah, nobody got hurt. That was the main thing. And yes, the staff won again, of course.
Heard all about it.
The PTO Science Night was March 28th, and PTO also has a bingo night planned for May 2nd, Friday night. We've done, or the elementary is doing their Ames Web spring screening. I think you're done, right? Yeah. We had the end of the quarter. We had in-service a week ago on April 4th, or 2 weeks ago. ACT, pre-ACT forward testing is done and wrapping up. The high school last week had a really cool night. I mean, this might be I'd say a future Spotlight on Ed, but they had their ACP night where they went out and visited the Amory Hospital and AFP in town and learned about careers there. And again, that replaced one of our parent-teacher conference evenings for the high school staff. So that time that they had spent. We had 9 kids went to state forensics last week. VAC, or Visual Arts Classic, we had a bunch of kids go to state a few weeks ago. Multiple kids got gold awards. Same thing at forensics, lots of golds and silvers. Or I'd say not very many golds, but a lot of silvers. Gold is a perfect score. So state, FCCLA and FFA stuff going on. Wait, I don't know why I have state, but they had FFA had their banquet the other night. State FCCLA happened. Spring sports are going on underway. We're doing a lot of hiring for next year. School perception surveys have been going on. Those wrap up tomorrow. We're working on budget requisitions and staff purchases for next year. We got Earth Day next week. We got a speaker coming to the high school next week. So that's just all the news fit to be printed here. It's a lot of stuff. So that's fast. But
It was fast. All right. Well, thank you, Chris. And then now we'll move into our next item of business, which is contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 paragraph 1C and 19.85 paragraph 1E. The board will deliberate or negotiate the purchase of services, discuss employee performance, and discuss employee compensation. I will pull the board. Nettie?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Christy?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yep.
All right, we are in closed session.
and there we go, recording.
Okay, we are back in open session, and I am looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.